Hello and welcome to EduShare. This is the bite-sized podcast where I speak to educators from all around the world about one thing that works in the classroom. And in each episode, we keep it simple and it's a short conversation about things that work in the classroom and practical ideas in school. And today I am delighted to be joined by Becca Barnett. So welcome and nice to see you today.
Lovely to see you too, Kyle. I'm absolutely honoured to be here.
I'm so delighted that you've given up some time and to talk to us about your experience in education. So to start us off, can you introduce yourself and outline your current role?
Yes, of course. My name's Becca Barnett and I am currently an education officer working for HMC. I specifically look after or support the HMCJ, which is the junior network of HMC schools. But I also support schools with EYFS, AI and EdTech, SEND and sustainability. I came into this role from headship. I've worked both internationally and within the UK as a head, but I started my career way back when as a class teacher in a maintained primary school in Bristol.
Oh, fabulous. When you were a class teacher, what year group did you work in?
So I started off in year six and then I moved internationally and actually became a head of English in an international prep school. And from there, sort of worked my way up, director of studies, deputy head. So year six was my starting point.
Oh, fabulous. Do you have a favourite year group?
Do you know, I think they all have pros and cons, I suppose. But I really love year three because they still think you're funny, but they're a bit more independent. And I love teaching year eight right at the top end, where they're finding out who they are, and particularly when looking at literature and discussing it, just so much fruitful discussion and ideas.
Year three is a good year for that. Between year two and year three, where you've still got them and they still believe in the magic
They do,
at
they
that
do.
time as well. So that's always fun. What are you reading professionally or personally at the moment?
Oh, I can probably do both because I've literally just started both books. I'm not sure I can quite class this one as professional, but it was recommended to me as being an incredibly insightful and funny book by a head, and it's called Head Teachering: A Practical Guide with the Messy Bits Left In. It's by a man called Simon Botton, who is a head teacher at the moment. So he includes real life stories, practical advice, case studies, but there is a lot of humour in it. So it's for those aspiring to headship, those already in it, and those who've experienced it. So yeah, it's very easy to read and incredibly funny. I laughed out loud in the first 2 pages. So that's good. So personally, I'm reading a book called On the Edge. I was lucky enough to grow up next to an amazing lady called Nikki Garrard. And this is actually her third book, and she's a great writer, and it's been nominated for the Carnegie Medal for Writing. But it's a young adult fiction, and it's about where she originally grew up, a coastal town in South Devon. Follows the story of a boy called Reese, whose hopes and dreams as he comes of age in a community blighted by unemployment. So another good read, but I'm only right at the beginning of that one as well. But I would recommend it already.
Ah, okay, wow, that sounds great. Do you generally tend to go for sort of young adult fiction?
No, I think as an ex-English teacher, I always like to see what's coming out and to see what children are enjoying reading and young people. But in for my kind of own personal relaxation fun, I'm a big tech and mystery reader. But I also like going back to the classics. Every Christmas, I read Pride and Prejudice just because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I only asking because I do the same as well. I always tend to have some ch children's fiction on the go alongside what else I'm reading to just to sort of keep my head in the game and be able to recommend books.
Exactly. I'm really looking forward to the new Gruffalo book when it comes out as well. So that's going to be exciting.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so working in education at the moment, what would you say is the best part about working in our field right now?
Oh, such a tricky question, but I think two things spring to mind. First one I would always say is children and young people. It's why we get into education. And although systems change, curriculums change, pressures change, the world changes, children are the same, and it's a huge privilege to work with them. Um, I suppose in my role now, which I do still get into schools as much as I can, but I work very closely with heads and specialist colleagues, teachers, um, to support their roles. And I do that both in the UK and internationally. And I get to meet exciting people with innovative ideas, with passion about what they're doing. And they're very, very generous in wanting to share their ideas wider than their own schools. And this is something HMC really fosters and encourage that culture of research and sharing good practice from schools. And we've actually just launched the Action Research Hub where schools can take part in action research and share their findings more widely. So I think my second exciting thing about working in education is that sharing from each other can be done so much. It's much easier now on a global scale to be able to do that, and to have those conversations. You know, when I trained as a teacher, there's nothing wrong with the weighty tomes of pedagogy and the theory we all read, but actually we can interact now globally in a very real, very real-time way to have those discussions and to share best practice. So I think that's really exciting at the moment.
That is a really exciting element of your role as well. We know each other originally from the presentations through
That's correct. Yeah.
HMCJ, and they are an amazing opportunity, as you say, for educators to come together online and share best practice. And we're sort of not limited anymore by borders to do that. We can come together online.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, every context, every country is so different. And, you know, even the counties of the UK are so different. And schools have to think outside the box to solve problems and that shared learning is just so valuable to ultimately why we're there, which is to help children succeed.
Yes, absolutely. And I've enjoyed those online sessions as well, just being able to hear about what are schools in the UK doing at the minute and how does I practice here in Thailand reflect what's happening in the UK as well, because it feels good to keep up to date with best practice at home. So yeah, I've really enjoyed the sessions at HMCJ upon that I've joined this year.
I'm really glad. And I need to say publicly that we've really enjoyed yours too, Kyle, because actually the work you're doing in your school is phenomenal and is very innovative, particularly with that sort of a lot of talk about transition at the moment, but the way your senior and your prep school work symbiotically together is actually brilliant. So we've really enjoyed hearing about that.
Thank you. And I wasn't fishing for a compliment there, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So from what you see across working in different schools and hearing different educators online, what's one thing that you hear or see at the minute that is really supporting strong teaching and learning in schools?
Ah, that's a really complex question, but I think I'm going to try and answer it quite simply, and I hope I don't do it a disservice. For me, I think that it's a combination of dedicated staff and strong relationships. And I think those two things are the most important thing that genuinely works in creating and supporting that teaching and learning within schools. I think when you have teaching staff and leaders working together who know the children in their schools really, really well and who are unapologetic in their passion for getting things right for them, I think that's the perfect combination that actually brings everything else behind it.
I've done a couple of these conversations now online and spoken to different educators that are working in different fields or different specialisms. And the common thread from each conversation has been relationships and the connections, both between students or between adults in schools, and how the strength of those relationships has a real impact on the practice. in schools?
I absolutely agree, because I think it's that sense of belonging, both from staff and from pupils. And if you have that and you feel part of something bigger and you feel cared for and supported, then you're all striving and you're all pulling in the same direction. So I would say, although it doesn't seem very groundbreaking, I think that that absolutely supports strong teaching and learning.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's without those, you haven't got the foundations then to build anything else on top of that. So getting the foundations correct, so getting those relationships in place is that's an essential part of what we do. And I
Exactly.
appreciate those reflections. Thank you. And one final question from me today. Is there any practice that you think that we should be rethinking or perhaps moving away from in our schools?
Oh, really, really interesting question. I think going back to what I said before, I think schools across the world really do vary in their approaches and in their curriculums. So I think particularly in HMC schools, you see teachers constantly reviewing and rethinking the best ways to approach learning. As teachers, you think about how to inspire children, how to help children be creative, critical thinkers, have agency, how to instill confidence in them, resilience, adaptability, understand how they learn through metacognition, inspire a growth mindset. The list goes on. But ultimately, I think we want children to be happy at school. I always used to say as a head teacher, happy children are ready to learn. If they are unhappy or if they're dealing with other things, it's very difficult to find that headspace to learn, to come to their learning. So I would say any practice, any lesson, or any approach that is not achieving that happy learning space where children are inspired to learn needs to be rethought, whatever that might be. I mean, ultimately, I think there are aspects in any child's journey through school, no matter what their ability, that are going to be challenging. And how we as teachers approach these parts of a child's journey and how we support and encourage them through them defines their learning experience and what they walk away with at the end of the day. So I think if something doesn't add positively to this, no matter what it should be looked at and reviewed. I know that's a bit woolly without going into the specifics, but it's what I genuinely believe.
I don't actually think that is woolly. That's you articulated there so well, just how the talk curriculum and, for example, what's in the English national curriculum, we have to ensure that, yes, students have to come to school, be happy, and be ready to learn for them to understand the talk curriculum in a way that will allow them to succeed and progress onto the next phase of their school career successfully. So we've got to do all that background work and give them the skill set to be able to do that and take away any of the distractions, remove any other barriers to learning for them to be able to be successful. The whole point of these conversations are short, sharp, bite-sized conversations where hopefully people that are listening can take away a top tip or have a moment to reflect and practice in their schools. So Becca, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it and really insightful reflections.
That's a real pleasure. It's been a delight to talk to you. And what a great, I know you're heading towards evening, but what a great way to start my day.
Thank you so much.